102 Digital.
It is Thursday, the 16th of May, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Tobago is rocked by yet another murder less than 1 week after the island recorded its 8th murder in Plymouth. Tobago police have responded to another killing in the Plymouth cemetery. Anthony Maynard of Plymouth was shot dead in a drive-by shooting around 10:30 p.m. 3 other persons were injured and were transported to the Scarborough General Hospital for emergency medical treatment. This recent killing pushed the island's murder toll for 9 for 2024 so far. For the same period last year, Tobago had only recorded 4 murders. Last week, Thursday, 29-year-old Nikisha Sandy was shot dead a stone's throw away from Wednesday's drive-by shooting. Investigations are ongoing. In Trinidad, a teenage under 22-year-old man was shot dead in an alleged police-involved shooting in St. Augustine yesterday. According to a release issued by the TTPS, around 8:45 a.m., the North Central Division Task Force received information and went to Bassey Street Extension, Spring Village, Valsayn, where they cordoned off a white 2-story house. On entering the house, officers saw 2 men exiting the back of the building with firearms in hand and running into a bushy area. The officers pursued the suspects, who reportedly both pointed their firearms in the direction of officers who opened fire. The suspects both sustained injuries and were taken to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex for medical attention. However, they were pronounced dead on arrival. The suspects were ID'd as Sudin Maharaj, 22, of Savannah Road, Aruka, and Darian Jojo Bridgelal, 17, of number 45 Freeman Road, St. Augustine. The release added officers seized an AR-15 rifle fitted with a magazine containing 30 rounds of 5.56 ammunition, as well as 5 9mm shells, and a 9 live millimeter round, 2 live 5.56 rounds of ammunition, and 9 clear plastic packets of plant-like material resembling marijuana were also seized at the scene. Investigations are continuing. Finance Minister Carl Member says Cabinet is not prepared to cancel nor recall the investigation led by Justice David Harris, David Benjamin, into the dispute between the Finance Ministry and Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas. Member has decided to forego legal proceedings against the Auditor General with respect to the latter submission to Parliament of a report of the 2023 public financial accounts, which did not factor $2.6 billion underestimated revenue. The original report will be laid in Parliament at the earliest opportunity. The Finance Minister will provide Ramdas with all the documents she requires to prepare a special report on the 2023 public accounts by August 31st. Amber gave the response to a legal letter from his lawyer, Joan Julian, yesterday in reply to a letter from Ramdas's attorneys who called for the investigation unconstitutional and illegal because neither the minister nor cabinet had constitutional jurisdiction and lawful authority to investigate the action and conduct of the Auditor General outside of Section 136 of the Constitution. The Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago says there was a small bushfire in a grassy area adjacent to the runway on the air side of the Piaco International Airport yesterday morning. Out of an abundance of caution to ensure safety of all aviation operations and stakeholders, there was a temporary pause in all flight operations, said the authority. The TNT Fire Service responded immediately and the situation was contained. The authority advised normal flights resumed operations at 9:15 a.m. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley arrived in India yesterday, Wednesday, after his visit to Ghana last week. Dr. Rowley and Mrs. Sharon Rowley arrived in Mumbai, India yesterday, Wednesday, 15th May. Dr. Rowley met with prominent members of India's business community from a broad section across various sectors. Works and Transport Minister Senator Rohan Sinanan, Minister of Sport and Community Development Shamfa Kojo, and High Commissioner for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to New Delhi, India, His Excellency Roger Gopal, also attended those meetings. The Health Ministry is advising the public that very high temperatures can be dangerous and advises the population to take the necessary precautions to safeguard their health. Persons are being asked to stay hydrated by eating fruits and vegetables, at least 2 to 4 servings fruits daily, and eating vegetables with every meal, drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water daily, and avoiding drinks with caffeine and alcohol. In news of the region, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government will continue to pursue consensus on constitutional reform. He assured Jamaicans the efforts made by the government toward Jamaica becoming a republic were not in vain. His comments follows the decision of the opposition representatives of the Constitutional Reform Committee not to sign off on the committee's report until concerns raised about the reform process are resolved. Further afield, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico is in stable but serious condition after being shot several times yesterday, Wednesday. Deputy Prime Minister Robert Kalinka added Mr. Fico's injuries were complicated. Earlier, Fico, 59, was said to have been fighting for his life after being gravely injured in the attack in the small town of Handlover. The suspect was detained on the scene of the shooting. During the night, doctors managed to stabilize the patient's condition. Mr. Kalinka, who is also the Defense Ministry, added, unfortunately, the condition is still very serious and injuries are complicated. Another Deputy Prime Minister, Thomas Taraba, told the BBC Mr. Fico's surgery had gone well and he will survive. Interior Minister Matas Sutak Estoka described it as politically motivated and an assassination attempt. Mr. Fico is a divisive figure at home and controversial in the EU for his calls to end military aid to Ukraine and sanctions on Russia. And finally, CNN is reporting U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have agreed to participate in 2 televised presidential debates in June and September. The television news network announced the June 27th event this week. It said it would take place in key swing states of Georgia. A second debate on September 10th will be hosted by ABC Network. No audience will attend the June debate in Atlanta, while moderators will be announced at a later date. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. and brought to you with the compliments of Genesco Appliances nationwide.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital, 8 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this, the 16th day of May. So good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. The hours, we just heard from Senator Dr. Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. Wendell has the day off. Of course, Ruben and Shane in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. Morning to you, Pablo. What's happening?
Morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Good Thursday morning to you.
Thursday. Tomorrow being Friday. It's been a long week so far. Of course, it is 26 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 27 at Crown Point in Tobago. Just some volume by Chase Village on the highway and in Charlieville towards the interchange. A little bit of volume. I got no traffic really to tell you about, okay? Of course, let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning. We run through quickly. Ray at 3:17 this morning. Out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to you. Wendy and James, DJ Ray out in Delaware. Oliver Man Warren, Marcia Rock in Orlando. Got Celia in Valencia. Boy Bedesi in Davie. Slick Money Grip. Brennan Smith out in Fort Lauderdale. Doreen Pear. Wayne Bean covered in Georgia. Maria Celia, Brenda Isaac out in Santa Cruz. John Cato, Carol Guevara, Brent Hackshaw, Rita Budu Jennings, CJ Neo, Gloria Gray, Josie Richardson, Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona, Ewart Rajpal. Good morning to you. Shanifa Ali, Cohen Duke, David Wares and Mrs. Wares. Good morning to you. Hope all is well. That's on Facebook and on YouTube. Look at messages coming up on WhatsApp. Trev and Arima, Captain Ron, who's locked on. Good morning to you. Where in the world are you today? In Philadelphia. All right. GNC Auto Security, Dan Raj, good morning. Val, good morning. Hope all is well. Yeah, a lot of hellos this morning, Paul.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
How are you all this morning?
Not bad. Not bad at all.
I got about 3 this morning. I couldn't go back to sleep, so.
Oh, don't you just hate that?
No, not necessarily.
I hate that. You get up.
It just means I'll be back in my bed by 2 this afternoon. That's what it means.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? No kidding.
It means I'm not going to play. Because by 2 I start to feel dizzy and delirious.
Yeah, I know that one for sure.
Anyway, good morning, everyone. Good morning to Tobago. Another murder in Tobago, sadly.
Yeah, you believe that? I didn't know that until you said that just now.
Anthony Maynard of Plymouth. This is Tobago's 9th murder for the year so far.
Yeah, and how much you said it was for last year?
It was the same period last year. It was 4.
Jeez.
But apparently the gangs have expanded their reach into Tobago.
Yeah.
And with this, the police have increased their surveillance, but it's not bearing fruit just yet.
Yeah. Beautiful place like that. Of course, a lot of people are going to head across to Tobago next weekend. So that long weekend. Tobago will sink again.
Let's say whether the Friday is a holiday. Did they confirm?
But normally have 2 holidays, public holidays, for the same day, the next day is a holiday. That happens sometime. Was it Easter?
It's not next week, it's week after.
Oh, week after, that's right. Gosh, wishful thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going with you. I can't wait to stay home. Anyway.
No, I still have to work. I have to open the pet bottle. I'll be opening. So,
I don't know. What a teenager doing with a gun in his hand running in the staying with a 22-year-old?
Well, I don't know, yes.
So you're 17 years old, and that's the most productive thing you could find to do with your life.
Yeah.
So both are dead now.
17.
Allegedly, after they pointed their guns at the police officers who opened fire, they were both hit and taken to hospital, pronounced dead on arrival. Dead are Sudeen Maharaj, a 22-year-old. I think that's the most productive thing he could have been doing with his life. And 17-year-old Darian Bridgelal.
Mm-hmm. Look at the guy who killed the police officer. He was 24. I don't know. I just have to shake my head when you hear that.
You have no choice but to shake it because there's no other response to that.
There's nothing he can do. Nothing he can say. Show me your friends and I can tell you who you are.
Yep.
So,
that is very, very applicable.
Yeah.
Like a 2-year-old and a 17-year-old. I mean, really.
Shake my head with that,
The pink phone is very busy yesterday. I got about 8-10 documents.
Please share.
Exhibits A to G in the Ember Jaiwanti Ramdas impasse.
Mm-hmm.
I got the letter sent from the Minister of Finance by his attorney, Joanne Julian, who I know very well. I'm a very close friend of the Julian family.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I was by them 2 weeks ago for her brother's birthday.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Her brother is former Communication Workers Union Secretary General John Julian. So Miss Julian Joanne sent a long legal letter on behalf of the finance minister, on behalf of the government, I should say, because it's on behalf of the cabinet, indicating that the acting prime minister, Minister Imber, who is the Minister of Finance, is not going to recall nor cancel the investigation by the tribunal. The letter cited sections of the Constitution. 136 of the Constitution provides for the removal of the Auditor General from the office of the President and the advice of a tribunal. However, Joanne Julian of MG Daly and Partners said this was not the purpose of the investigation, and the investigating team was not also being tasked with exercising any disciplinary control over public office. Isn't that what I said earlier in the week?
You did.
That's not, when I saw the terms of reference, I said, but how is this applicable? Most, if not all, of the terms of reference related to actually the Ministry of Finance. And what they did that led to this impasse, this imbroglio. And I still think most of this issue, if they'd done their jobs properly, wouldn't have ended up like this. in addition to the initial decimal point move because of the new system, because it's outlined clearly in the letter from Mr. Julian on behalf of the minister, the acting prime minister. And then the subsequent inadvertent sending of the original document after you do all your dotishness and make your mistakes. You say you inadvertently still make a mistake and send the original document. I mean, really. And then
there's more.
To make it worse,
there's more.
Yeah, according to what's in the public domain, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. You asked for a $3.4 billion reconciliation, when you could really only reconcile $2.6 billion. Make it make sense. Anyway, I must say I have it wrong. Okay. Anyway, this is the latest. I'm sure between the next 48 hours, we'll get a response to that.
Yeah, before the weekend, we'll get a response on that.
From Freedom Law Chambers, and so it goes.
You know, it is swift.
You understand? So and keep in mind, John Julian didn't sit down and write that for free. Of
course not.
And Freedom Law Chambers not writing the ones on behalf of Ms. Ramdas for free either.
The minute they sit in that chair, tick, 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 the seconds start counting.
Coffee break is being counted too.
Mm-hmm. Just like you working and having your coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, Hector. Karen Yip now, Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan.
Inadvertently. How you said something inadvertently at a level, given the drama that's going on, and what's at stake? How?
They're saying here.
How? One would imagine, because you're in a pickle already, you'd make sure and cross all your T's.
Dot all your I's.
Triple check them. Dot all your I's and triple check them. But you, in addition to all the drama, send the original document inadvertently. We have problems. Houston, we have a problem. And then the response is a whole other side of the drama now. So, what the minister did indicate in the letter that the original report sent by Ms. Ramdas as the Auditor General, which is already in the hands of the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, will be laid at the earliest possible moment, which means the Senate sits this Friday. So I'm presuming that the minister will come and lay it on Friday, or somebody will lay it on his behalf. And whenever the House sits next, they will lay it in the House, because those will be according to the missive, the earliest possible moments. So we'll see. You understand? Karen, you're right. That is an episode of House of Cards. That's exactly what's going on here. House of Cards. They should come on film in Trinidad. Dr. Rowley and his wife and the entourage have made their way to Mumbai, India from Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
So some pictures online posted by the Office of the Prime Minister and on Dr. Rowley's Facebook page. Mm-hmm. They've arrived in India yesterday, the 15th, and met with several business sector executives, and accompanying the Prime Minister on this leg. On the last leg was Dr. Amory Brown, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. On this leg, the Prime Minister is joined by Minister Rohan Sinanan and Minister Shamfa Kudro. And of course, as one would expect, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to New Delhi, Excellency Ragoobarsingh, will have to be there. Understand? Prime Minister and the 11 meetings do coming in to tail up at the airport. And
the embassy would have put everything in place from
I got an embassy escort already, a couple of times,
You got a what, sorry?
Embassy escort and thing.
Well, you have one of those fancy passports.
Yes, I got a High Commissioner meet me by the airport.
You don't need first class. Yeah. You get first class on the ground.
I say, hey, I reach.
You reach.
But it wasn't me alone. So
when you're big, you're large.
it wasn't for me, really. It was for who I was traveling with. Okay.
Well, still take
so I happen to benefit from it.
Yeah, still take it.
Okay, I'm taking it, yes. Okay.
And people watching there, I wonder who's them boy. Yeah,
no, I get buff by a lady and scoffed at in Heathrow already, when the attaché to the embassy came and let us into the craft, the British Airways craft. You know, they put us first for they sometimes. So the people had to kind of move aside, and the woman was very upset. Who is them? I stand up here long. I mean, I'm sorry, I apologize. I feel bad.
You know, getting on and off a plane is the funniest thing out. People are so rushing. They're rushing to go on the plane.
Steve, that amazes me.
You know,
listen, you see that sign where you're rushing going.
Yeah, exactly.
You see the sign.
And
Where
they're
are you
going
rushing?
nowhere.
Why are you rushing to the door? But you feel somebody going to take your seat? that always amazes me. Oh my God.
That is boggling my mind. And then the plane arrives.
And listen, you're not in the section what you're rushing for.
Yeah, and then the plane arrives at its destination. And before the plane comes to a stop, seatbelts unbuckle and people standing up and getting hand luggage, waiting to come off the aircraft.
You're right. Mm-hmm. That always amazes me. It's like, why are you rushing?
It boggles my mind all the time.
The door not going to open for another 10 minutes. You know that?
Yeah.
Sit down and cool yourself.
And then they stand up and they hold on to your seat and they wait and check in to see if the door open yet.
And then the people with the big carry-on that get on. Can you help me put that up? No. A woman get vexed with me and I fight already, but you're so impolite. You wouldn't even help me put it up. I say, you pack your everything in your carry-on and I must break my back to put it up. They said no. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. The attendant will help you, ma'am. Anyway, back to the news.
That boggles my mind.
Airport Society shut down the airport for a short while yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday morning after about 8:30 or so.
There was a little bushfire, which may have impeded visibility of pilots. You never know. They had to shut it down, call the fire brigade, fire services, contain it, and then the airport is reopened. Or the runway, not the airport. The airport was never shut down. The runway was reopened at 9:15 a.m.
I was watching it and listening it on ATC. I just happened to look at Piarco on the map, and I'm seeing a few planes circling. What's going on there? So I decided to go and open my ATC app, and then I heard it. I said, "Oh, bushfire. Okay." Wanted no dogs running across the runway.
Relatedly, the Ministry of Health is advising the public of very high temperatures, and I'm sure you're not feeling that heat.
Of course.
The last couple of days since the weekend, have been oppressive heat-wise.
Over a week.
You have to brace yourself to leave the house to the car and the car to whatever building you're going into. Let me tell you something. I was on USC campus and I had to walk across the campus on Tuesday evening, and I just was exhausted after I got to the other building. Yeah. So they're advising you eat fruits and vegetables and drink between 8 to 10 glasses of water daily. Do you drink 8 to 10 glasses of water daily?
I probably drink about 6 or 7.
I drink a big bottle, so I don't know if that equates to
sure. No, I have my water here. That's usually empty when I get home. And then when I go home, I drink like 3 glasses, and then I drink again at the store. You
gotta drink a lot of water because you have to hydrate yourself, and make sure children drink water also because it's
and pets. Make sure you leave enough water for your pets.
But some people are very cruel like that. They don't ensure that their pets have water, and the pets are tied up or locked up, and the pets have to stay all day without water, and that is just horrible.
There are people that do that. I can give you some stories. I won't. You'll get too upset. But there are people that do that.
Karen, that's too much information.
But Karen, that's a good thing, though. Yeah,
so much I want to say, but I'll restrain myself. There was an assassination attempt against the life of the Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico. Yesterday afternoon started coming across major news feeds as early as 11 yesterday morning, 12. He is now in stable but serious condition after doctors fought for hours on the emergency operating table to save his life. I think they said he was shot in the leg, torso, and head. He's been stabilized. He's 59 years old. And they said he was gravely injured in a small town called Handlover. Right? One of the deputy prime ministers, because apparently they have more than one, Robert Kalinka said, who is also the defense ministry, says his condition is still very serious and injuries are complicated. One would imagine so. But they also said another deputy prime minister, Thomas Teraba, said that his surgery went well and he is expected to survive. He was quite a controversial figure, and the interior minister, Matas Sutaj Estoka, described the attack as being politically motivated. Mr. Fico was a very controversial figure, even in the EU, and it is a very tragic development. I'm surprised I haven't seen on the BBC and CNN this morning more world leaders denouncing this attempt on his life. You know?
Mm-hmm. I was to read that story yesterday. I actually forgot about it.
The world.
What a world. Leo Henry. Good morning to you. Really, it's been a while.
Yes, Karen, you're right. It's amazing how when you looked at the video of him being shot and how fast his security detail just grabbed him up and threw him into the car and whisked him off the hospital. I guess that's why they were able to save his life too, because of the speed with which they responded and probably put pressure on the wounds so he didn't bleed out, and got him to hospital in time so they could and I'm sure they would have called ahead and prepped him a major medical trauma team to receive him at the hospital. So we will continue to monitor that story as the day progresses. So the front page of the Express this morning is saying the probe is on. Calm, no cancellation of investigation into understatement of revenue in Auditor General's report, as I said on Monday. I'll get to that story in a while. The terms of reference that I saw with the investigative team is operating under, and I could be wrong, I could stand corrected if someone can correct me, primarily have to do with the actions or inactions of the Ministry of Finance officials, Treasury Division in particular, which led to the understatement in the first place. And I keep saying this, it's actually very shocking to me that this issue was only discovered after the information was sent to the Auditor General. That I would have imagined that because of the gravity of public accounts and the impact on the country's financial position for any year, any fiscal, and because of the added complication that you have changed to a new system, or you are changing to a new system that had not been tested, that hadn't been used before, that you would have checked, double-checked, triple-checked. You'd have run a parallel system of the old system that you've been accustomed to using, because it's the same numbers you're using, right? Right? You have all the numbers available to you. You'd have continued with the old system and institute the new system together in a parallel manner. So at the end of the exercise, you can compare the result of the old system, which you've been accustomed to using, with the result of the new system to see if there's any variance between the two. And you would have been able to identify, well, no, something wrong here, because the new system saying $3.4 billion less and the old system saying X. It is not brain surgery. You all are all qualified accountants, or you have qualified accountants at your disposal. You have the whole might of the Ministry of Finance and Resources behind you. So I am confused that it got to that. That being as it may, this issue occurred, and $3.4 billion is extremely material, because it's 5% of the budget, right? And so it happens, you send what you describe as a reconciled account to the Auditor General, because I don't think you could not have sent, if you discovered that level of mistake or any mistake at all, you can't ignore it and pretend it didn't happen and don't send it, because then you'd be guilty of dereliction of duty, because you have to present any information that you think will present an accurate or as close to an accurate representation of the country's financial position as possible. So they had to send it. The Bacchanal with refusal to accept, eventually accept pre-action protocol, and that ensued. And on top of that, you inadvertently send the original. How? Why?
Yeah, that I don't understand that at all.
Leading to an accusation of backdated this, which was denied, of course, and complicating an already complicated matter. And I keep saying this because this is the thing that stands out most prominently to me. And I could be wrong, because me no accountant, but from what I've read in the public domain, the issue of 3.4 billion may not even arise, because seemingly an issue of this number of 2.6 billion being reconcilable keeps coming up. So if that is the case, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because it's so much drama, I can't keep track sometimes. Why send information to reconcile 3.5 billion if is really reconciled in 2.6 billion? Or is that the case? And what about this 700 million that seemingly is yet to be reconciled? Please, somebody add some clarity for me, please. Good morning, Ragoobarsingh.
Good morning, guys, and good morning to our listeners. Well, I can't.
Good morning, Rich.
I'm not following it to a granular detail. I'm just so busy these days. But this is the whole issue of the investigation you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as we said on Monday, Richard, the terms of reference that we read that was sent to us through the pink phone didn't seem to really. Yes, they are in subsets of the issues that came out of the Auditor General's office, but primarily it's about the Ministry of Finance, Treasury Division, and what went wrong.
Yes.
And what happened when they sent it
in terms of the relaying of the information,
and also the response to when it was sent in terms of if you're to believe what is in the public domain, the refusal to first accept, the secondary acceptance after whatever happened, and then what ensued after that. Not so?
Yeah.
So
and errors, mix errors into all of that, mix the errors into the category.
Yeah. So
and swizzle it well. So it just seems a lot of the information is murky at best, and I suppose which is why Commonwealth is moving ahead with the investigation.
Well, I think he should.
Yeah, despite some people objecting.
Well, I think one of the reasons that the Auditor General's attorneys have put on the table is that because the Minister of Finance and the Ministry of Finance is involved, that he deciding on who comprised the investigators may have been immediately tinted by some level of bias, which I don't know. That's
one of the other arguments I heard, which I referenced, I think yesterday, was Clyde Weatherhead, who is a former head of the PSA. Is he? I think, yeah. He was saying his opinion was that the president should have appointed the investigative committee,
and that's to make it more independent.
Yeah, because it's the president who appointed her.
Yeah,
the Auditor General.
That could be a valid perspective here.
Yeah,
and it would be absent of any tinge of bias because of who appointed the persons who are investigating. I could agree with that, but that there should be an investigation. That I agree with. I sent to Steve yesterday a request to see if we could get Michael Annis. Michael Annis is no longer. What is he?
Yeah.
SWWTU head.
Is not.
Yeah, SWWTU.
Yeah, he's not. I called him like 5 times, and phone just rang out.
He was replaced, and it caused.
Which is shocking to me. I thought he was there for life.
I thought so too.
Yeah, but there seemed to be some upset. I mean, I saw it in in some article on it yesterday, I think, yeah. Concerning some upset with regard to his replacement. But he has generally been very accessible to this program.
Yeah, every time I call him, I would normally get
generally very accessible. So I suppose there's some level of processing.
Get after 7.
But it must take back the phone.
I suppose there's
no ringing, so somebody not answering. We do have Martin Georgia.
Maybe there's some level of processing going on, and he's not willing to talk as yet. I don't know.
Well, they take back the phone.
Yeah, take back the phone. Because he doesn't have a private phone, right? No.
But he there so long, that must be his private phone now. That must
exactly. I'll try him again and see if we get through.
And someone keeps telling me that the central bank annual report is seemingly 5 months overdue, which is also odd. So is it that the central bank waits for the laying of the official laying of the Auditor General's report up to get that kind of certainty in terms of what they use as their baselines for their report?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm sure there has to be some intersection.
But it's not usual that the central bank report takes this long.
The central bank is also an independent institution too, huh?
It is.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but they all exchange information to come up with their reports. So because it's one country.
They're all looking into the data of,
and they all cross-reference their reports with other.
Yeah, they're all looking at the data, the financial data.
Exactly. So as I told Steve earlier before you came on, Richard, that the pink phone was busy yesterday blowing up.
Yeah.
I think I sent some of my documents to your phone.
The hotline.
So I could contaminate your phone. Did I?
I don't know. I can't remember getting anything.
Let me
send that yesterday evening or last night?
Let me send them to you so I could contaminate your phone too, so they could still tap your phone too. I don't find my phone should be tapping. The one from Martin Daly and Partners, MG Daly and Partners, and the exhibit A through G. Remember, there is something that there's a bill. What bill we considered in GSC? If that became law, I'd be guilty of so much breaking law if I was sending this to you.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Oh, it is there. I know what you're talking about. Right, there you go, Ragoobarsingh.
Yeah, no, I received it. Am I supposed to look at it now?
No, you can't look at all of that now.
Oh, okay. Good.
You understand?
I thought there was an expectation, you see.
No, you can't look at all of that now. It's a lot.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Eastern Regional Health Authority Chief Executive Officer Ronald Soyafat died on Tuesday. Condolences to his family. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
And colleagues. Apparently he was ill for a while and he passed away on Tuesday. I didn't know that. 24 pharmacies under police probe. There was a JSC yesterday of the Public Accounts Committee chaired by Speaker of the House Bridget Annette George. I saw CMO Roshan Parstram and the PS in the Ministry of Health and the officials at NIPDEC all attended, and 24 pharmacies under police probe for selling unregistered, fake or expired drugs. Surprise, surprise. Does that surprise you in this country?
It's a little surprising.
Selling expired, unregistered drugs.
It's a little surprising with regard to the expiration part of it. I mean,
really?
As a consumer, you really wouldn't know whether a drug is authorized or not. You wouldn't have that information. But in terms of expiration of drugs, I find that a little unusual. Because generally, when I go into pharmacies, I trust that they have good stuff. It's not a part of the country that you think you're going to buy.
You should have that confidence because of what's at stake.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And generally you do. I don't go into a pharmacy wondering whether they have expired drugs. I
And
don't.
most people have a relationship with their pharmacists. They don't go to random pharmacies.
That's also true.
Yeah. Most people go to particular pharmacies with whom they
That's
develop a
also
relationship.
true. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. But remember, the Minister of Health on several occasions came on this show and says that they're selling all kind of aphrodisiacs that unregistered, and all kind of drama that not supposed to be sold. So, I'm not surprised to hear that. Never. You calm down in the chat, and them could. Ooh, that chat is a whole battlefield in there. That chat is be a battlefield. The disclosure of the pharmacies under probe was made by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Rushan Parashram after he responded to a question from committee member Dr. Lakram Bodo yesterday. Right? The PAAC meeting was conducting an inquiry into the adequacy of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceutical supplies by the Ministry of Health. Right? So. Parashram said 23 drugs are waiting registration. Parashram said over the period February 2023 to April 24, the Ministry of Health inspected 280 pharmacies. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that. That is excellent work, I think. And 45 pharmacies had either unregistered or expired products which were seized, and 24 of these pharmacies had been referred to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Parashram said just under 20,000 drugs were registered for use in this country. 20,000 drugs. That's a lot, eh?
Yeah, it is.
20,000 drugs.
Even though PrEP is not one of them.
Never a doubt.
Well, I shouldn't say PrEP is not one of them. It's not available in the public sector. And I know Colin Robinson, before he died, had raised that issue with the Minister of Health, and I know he was battling with the Minister of Health concerning it. But the Minister of Health was saying it was not available in the public sector because they didn't want to encourage promiscuity.
Yeah, which is a ridiculous proposition. It's like saying you don't want to sell condoms because you don't want to encourage promiscuity. There ain't no difference in the statement in meaning. Is that astounding a mindset, though? It's just astounding mindset to me. You don't want to sell a PrEP in Trinidad and Tobago because you will be encouraging promiscuity. What? I'm going to say something there.
Yeah. Island life is all I'd say.
So because some people do like 26, everybody should like 26. I'm going to put it that way before I get myself in trouble. What's Steve?
You couldn't help yourself. You just couldn't help yourself.
Well, I had to dilute it. I diluted it. I depersonalized it. Stay out of trouble now. If people like 26, they like 26. Why you call them, promiscuous? Sex shaming. That's what it is. Sex shaming. Not so? So you're only supposed to have a certain amount of sex to be considered non-promiscuous.
I just say that. Let's say happy birthday going on to Dr. Raj.
Oh, hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Raj.
Happy birthday, Raj.
On cue. Anyway, Rich, do you have the newspapers?
Actually, I do. I was just glimpsing at an article by a report from UE economist Roger Hussein, Professor Roger Hussein, that TNT is the worst performing regional economy. And there's a whole table that looks at the real GDP growth in the Caribbean between 2015 to 2022 and 2023. And, well, we're not absolutely at the bottom. There's one below us. But certainly we close to the bottom, according to this table. I hate to see things like that where we're not competing properly enough. As you know, I'm always saying I'm very competitive. What
are his metrics?
I don't know. It's just an article. I didn't go into the depth into the article, but it's an article in today's newspaper. Anyway, let me start with the newspapers today. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, of course, it is May 16th, 2024. And of course, theater is back on tomorrow at Sapa in San Fernando. As I said, the 16th, it occurred to me that tomorrow is the
The date
17th.
triggered that for you.
So Friday, 17th. We start tomorrow in Sapa. Usually we don't do shows on a Friday, but we're doing a show on Friday and Saturday in Sapa this weekend. Both shows at 8:30. Tickets available at Sapa from 12 noon to 6 p.m. So the Guardian, Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, Con sticks to his guns. Internal probe into financial report goes on. He rejects Auditor General's suggestion it's illegal and insists not only PSC can conduct investigation. An 8-year-old girl beaten at school. That's one of the subheadlines. And cops killed 2 men in St. Augustine. That's also a subheadline. And the main picture is that of Anne-Marie Pierre is comforted by Grace and Andy Pierre at the funeral service of murder victim Sadiki Otley at the basketball court in Powder Magazine. Phase 1 concrete yesterday. Otley, of course, was one of the victims of the recent mass shooting in the economy. I think a couple of the other funerals are taking place today.
Yeah.
On the back page of The Guardian, focus on safety and security at World Cup. ICC organizers and government officials to meet. Focus on safety and security at World Cup. So that's the main story on the back page of The Guardian. Moving on to the Newsday today on the front page. I can get the job done. That's the headline. Earlier on criticisms after term extension. So, of course, this is the Commissioner of Police speaking here. I can get the job done. That's the headline of the news.
Is that different like a year ago?
This is earlier on criticisms after term extension.
Okay.
I can get the job done. The main picture is that of the police commissioner earlier with Christopher. She leaves at JSC on national security with ACP Colin Hazel left and acting DCP intelligence in February 27, 2023. So
that's why I asked you that, because that's what she said a year ago.
Oh, but it's a dated picture. Imber forgoes legal action against Auditor General. And that's it for the front page of the Newsday. On the back page, Poon Agaron and Woodley lead TNT to a second friendly. Soca Warriors blank Guyana 2-0. And Brian Lara Cricket Academy ready for T20 World Cup. Moving on to the Express. On the Express, the front page, the probe is on. Column, no cancellation of investigation into understatement of revenue in Auditor General's report. The probe is on. Police probe pharmacies over fake drugs. And for their good deed, the main picture is what? Housing Minister Camille Robinson Regis and Minister in the Ministry of Housing, Adrian Leonce, left, flank a group of East Port of Spain young men who were honored by the ministry yesterday for providing assistance to the injured driver and passenger of a sedan that crashed in the Lady Young Road. So that's the main picture. TNT and Guyana in milk dispute. That's also on the front page of the Daily Express as a subheadline. And on the back page, too much secrecy, figures not adding up for TTCB members, and Paul and Brown to miss national championships, and Red Devils cage Magpies. That's it for your 3 days this morning.
All right. Thank you so much, Richie Rich. Let's get the results of our morning poll, where we asked you yesterday, should the Police Service Commission make public the details of the good assessment for Commissioner of Police Herwood Christopher? That was our poll yesterday. Give results right after this.
Shop mega mattress deal for mom at Furniture Plus. Get queen mattresses starting from just $699, plus up to 25% discount on bedding accessories. Hurry in today for these mega deals. Check the press and social media for details.
Trinidad and Tobago, get ready. As we move towards a healthy lifestyle change, the Ministry of Health will be conducting a national health survey called the STEP Survey 2024 to gather information from households across Trinidad and Tobago on lifestyle practices that impact your health. Staff conducting the interview will visit your home with a Ministry of Health ID and clothing with ministry branding. All information collected will be kept confidential. So support us today as we take steps to improving the health of all. The STEP Survey 2024. Visit the Ministry of Health's website and social media pages for more information. This message brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
All right, experience innovation and innovative technologies refrigerators designed to slash your electricity bills at Genesco Appliances Limited. Discover the versatility of a dual-function chest freezer, switchable between refrigeration or freezer mode, available in 5 and 7 cubic feet. Don't miss their unbeatable offer on the 13-kilogram twin tub washers, and for the aspiring chefs, 30-inch 5-burner gas stove with built-in rotisserie oven awaits. These specials won't last, so check out Genesco Appliances on Facebook and on Instagram. You can even give them a call at 351-7777. Genesco Appliances are available nationwide. Of course, they are powering our 7 o'clock major news, which is coming up in 8 minutes. Our poll results from yesterday: should the Public Service Commission make public the details of the good assessment for Commissioner of Police Earl Haywood Christopher? The votes are in. 75%, 75 said yes.
My suggested poll this morning comes from, of course, one of the big stories breaking yesterday evening with that missive sent on behalf of the Minister of Finance and Acting Prime Minister by Attorney at Law John Julian regarding the decision to continue the probe despite the calls by Freedom Law Chambers on behalf of Auditor General Ramdas to end the probe. So the suggested probe this morning is: do you agree with the decision by Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Colin Wendell to continue the probe into the public accounts 2023? Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Yeah, we could go with that.
So do you agree with the decision by Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Colin Wendell to continue the probe into the public accounts 2023? I have a slight error there. Probe off into. Should be the probe into or the probe off.
God, it's before 7.
So your brain no clicking. All right. Just remind me what time your brain is clicking, and then I will keep it in mind. Right. So anyway, 222-8255 North American.
Thank you for the correction, Richard. I appreciate it.
222-8255 North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on streaming platforms, you can send your comments via your messaging portals there. And of course, if you're watching us on cable, on television stations, 318-1021. You can WhatsApp.
We could ask tomorrow, as it's a lighter day, Miss Universe, and that removal of the age barrier for contestants. I see Jamaica has a little controversy going on now.
Okay.
With it.
All right. So we have some results. Let's go. Finbar Collins, good morning. Agree. Roger Beaver, no. Boy Bedesi, yes. Brent Hackshaw, yes. Let's see. We have Anne-Marie. Good morning, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie is saying yes, he should. Captain Ron says yes. Jaron says yes to the poll. Okay, all that's on WhatsApp. Beauty Culture says yes. Vianney Warwood says yes. DL, I say yes. Richard Phillip, yes, I absolutely agree. Brent Hackshaw says yes.
This is going to sound random, but I miss Whitney Houston so much.
Just like that.
I did say it would sound random.
Yeah. Wayne Joseph in Ontario, Canada says yes. I don't know where that comes from. Oscar Daniel says yes. Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan says yes. Yes. Keep your votes going, of course.
Oscar Daniel. You didn't say Oscar Daniel.
I did. He said yes. All right. So our morning poll, Richie Rich.
Do you agree with the decision by acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Colm Imber, to continue the probe into the public accounts 2023? You could probably check your WhatsApp too, Steve, for votes. Of course, you can't vote via WhatsApp at 868-318-1021. Maybe I'm saying that too fast. 318-1021. Put the Trinidad and Tobago code before it. Of course, if you're calling us from abroad, in North America particularly, you can call us at
866-525-1099. We do have a call. Good morning.
I'm now noticing that the WhatsApp number is at the bottom of the ticker tape.
Good morning, caller.
Yes. Good morning. Is the probe about the actions of the Auditor General or the appropriation of the funds for 2023? What is the probe all about?
We ask, but are you asking about the poll or are you asking about the substantive issue? Oh, he's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure what he's asking. Is he asking about the substantive issue itself, which is a separate discussion apart from the poll? But right now we're doing the poll. Do you agree with the decision by acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Colm Imber, to continue the probe into the public accounts 2023? And it's an understatement.
Well, the question can be a paragraph and explain what public accounts mean. You know? It means the embroidery surrounding the public accounts.
All right. We do have a call. Good morning.
Good morning to Steve, Richard, and mi amor.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás, mi amor? Je t'aime, mon ami.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Je sais mes tes
Okay.
people.
All right.
Are you opening in the line in the next hour?
Yes, we are.
But for the poll, Zeta.
All right. I said yes.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
She must say yes to that poll. Come on.
Of course.
See poll out.
Got some votes coming in. Margaret Thomas, yes. Brent Sylvester, yes. Julia S. Batiste, yes. Trini in Boston, yes. CJ in New York, yes. Josie Richardson, yes. Royalty Forever, yes. Joe Sam, yes. Central Animal Lover, good morning to you, my dear. Yes. Oliver, yeah. Oliver Manwaran, morning to you, Ollie. Yes to the poll. All right. Peter, yes. Thank you, Peter.
Carol Guevara, yes.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Miguel, yes. Cheryl Henry, yes. Kennedy Joseph, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Slick Money Grip, yes.
So do you agree with the decision by the acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Colm Imber, to continue the probe into the public accounts 2023? That's our poll this morning. So keep it coming.
Dave Gosine, yes. Adrian Kutu, yes.
All right. So keep your votes coming. And I'll read it right after our 7 o'clock news.
Come in love, keep it, come in love. Don't stop it. No.
Stop it, don't stop it now, don't stop it now, don't stop. Keep it, come in love, keep it,
Keep it, come in love.
don't stop it now,
No,
don't stop.
don't stop it. No, don't stop it. Good morning, Alvaro.
Good morning, Dr. Paul Richards. How are you, darling?
Better for hearing you.
Aww, same.
You're done? You all finished?
Yes.
All right. Whew. Well, I tell you, you raise. Let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. It starts right now, all powered by Genesco Appliances.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Tobago is rocked by yet another murder in less than a week. A teenager and a 22-year-old man are shot dead in an alleged police-involved shooting. Finance Minister Colm Imber says Cabinet will not cancel or recall investigation led by David Harris and David Benjamin into the dispute between the Finance Ministry and the Auditor General. And the Ministry of Health reminds the public very high temperatures can be dangerous and advises the population to take the necessary precautions. Details.
All right. And of course, your 7 o'clock major news brought to you by Genesco Appliances. Experience innovation and innovative technologies, refrigerators designed to slash your electricity bills at Genesco Appliances Limited. Discover the versatility of a dual function chest freezer switchable between refrigeration or freezer mode. Available in 5 and 7 cubic feet. Don't miss their unbeatable offer on the 13 kg twin tub washers, and for aspiring chefs, 30-inch 5-burner gas stove with a built-in rotisserie oven awaits. These specials won't last. So check out Genesco Appliances on Facebook and on Instagram. You can even give them a call at 351-7777. Genesco Appliances are available nationwide.
This is News to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Centel Bob. Good morning. Tobago has been rocked by yet another murder in less than a week. Tobago recorded its 8th murder in Plymouth. Tobago police have responded to another killing in the Plymouth cemetery. Anthony Maynard of Plymouth was shot dead in a drive-by shooting around 10:30 p.m. 3 other people were injured and were transported to the Scarborough General Hospital for emergency medical treatment. This recent killing has pushed the island's murder total to 9 for the year. For the same period last year, Tobago had recorded 4 murders. Last week, Thursday, 29-year-old Nakisha Sandy was shot dead a stone throw away from Wednesday's drive-by. Investigations into both incidents are ongoing. A teenager and a 22-year-old man were shot dead in an alleged police-involved shooting in St. Augustine yesterday. According to a release issued by the T&T Police Service, around 8:45 a.m., the North Central Division Task Force received information and went to Bassey Street Extension, Spring Village, Valsayn, where they cordoned off a white 2-story house. On entering the house, officers saw 2 men exiting the back of the building with firearms in their hands and running east into a bushy area. The officers chased the suspect, who reportedly pointed their firearms in the direction of the officers. The police returned fire. The suspects both sustained injuries and were taken to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex for medical attention. However, they were both pronounced dead on arrival. The suspects were identified as 22-year-old Sudin Maharaj of Savannah Road, Garden Village, Aruka, and Darian Jojo Bridgedal, 17, of number 45 Freeman Road, St. Augustine. The release added that the officers seized an AR-15 rifle fitted with a magazine containing 30 rounds of 5.56 ammunition, as well as 9 spent 9mm shells and a live 9mm round, 2 live 5.56 rounds of ammunition, and 9 clear plastic packets of plant-like material resembling marijuana were also seized from the scene. Finance Minister Colm Imber says Cabinet is not prepared to cancel or recall the investigation led by David Harris and David Benjamin into the dispute between the Finance Ministry and the Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas. Imber has decided to forego legal proceedings against the Auditor General with respect to the latter's submission to Parliament of a report on the 2023 public financial accounts, which did not factor in $2.6 billion understatement in revenue. The original report will be laid in Parliament at the earliest opportunity. The Finance Ministry will provide Ramdas with all documents she requires to prepare a special report on the 2023 public financial accounts by August 31st. Imber gave the response through his lawyer, Joanne Julian, yesterday in reply to a legal letter from Ramdas attorneys, who who had called the investigation unconstitutional and illegal because neither the minister nor cabinet had constitutional jurisdiction and lawful authority to investigate the action and conduct of the Auditor General outside Section 136 of the Constitution. The Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago says there was a small bushfire in the grassy area adjacent to the runway on the air side of the Piarco International Airport this morning. Out of an abundance of caution and to ensure the safety of all aviation operators and stakeholders, there was a temporary pause in all flight operations, according to the authority. The Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service responded immediately and the situation was contained. The authority advised that normal flight operations resumed at 9:15 a.m. That was yesterday. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley arrived in India on Wednesday after his visit to Ghana last week. Dr. Rowley and Mrs. Sharon Rowley arrived in Mumbai, India yesterday, Wednesday, 15th May. Dr. Rowley met with prominent members of India's business community from a broad cross-section of various sectors. Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan, Minister of Sport and Community Development Chamfa Joe Lewis, and High Commissioner for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to New Delhi, India, His Excellency Roger Gopal, also attended the meetings. It is left to be seen what impact the recent reshuffle of the Tobago House of Assembly executive will have on the island and its performance in various aspects. This was the assessment of founder and political leader of Progressive Democratic Patriots, Watson Duke, when questioned on the matter during an interview on the Hard Talk program on Wednesday. Duke said while the THA chief secretary is entitled to do what he did, it remains for the public to observe and make a proper determination on the issue in time.
Maybe he has trained them and we are unaware, but from the face of it, there is no excitement over the reshuffling, and sometimes reshuffling brings excitement based on the public persona of those persons who are entering a new field. One believes that they will bring a lot with them, but there is no excitement among the people of Tobago regarding the move that has been made, but he's entitled.
Duke also commented on the relationship he has with Fali Augustine, who decided to leave the PDP and form the Tobago People's Party in April last year.
Unfortunately, I do not operate on the basis of friends. I operate on the basis of what can someone offer to Tobagonians or to the political directorate. Yeah. And in this case, Fali and I has never been friends. We were never friends. And we continue not to be friends, but we continue to have conversation on various issues from time to time.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The Health Ministry is reminding the public very high temperatures can be dangerous and advises the population to take the necessary precautions to safeguard their health. Persons are being asked to stay hydrated by eating fruits and vegetables, at least 2 to 4 servings of fruits daily, and eating vegetables with every meal, drinking at least 8 to 10 glasses of water daily, avoiding drinks with caffeine and alcohol, protecting themselves from the heat by avoiding strenuous exercise during the hottest times of the day, usually 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., staying indoors or in shaded areas when possible, taking frequent breaks or using hats and umbrellas while working outdoors, wearing loose-fitting, lightweight, light-colored clothing, wearing sunscreen with SPF 30 and above. The public is also advised to be aware of the signs of heat stroke and or heat exhaustion, high body temperatures, 39 degrees Celsius or higher, cold, pale, and clammy skin, fast, weak pulse, that means heat exhaustion, fast, strong pulse, heat stroke, tiredness of weakness, headache, nausea or vomiting, muscle cramps, dizziness, and confusion or fainting. During hot weather, remember to check on family, particularly the elderly and children, as very high temperatures can be dangerous to one's health. Well, let's find out how hot it will be today in our weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, generally fair and at times breezy conditions can be interrupted by partly cloudy periods with a few isolated light to moderate showers. There is the low to medium chance of an isolated heavy afternoon shower. Nighttime will be initially fair despite the isolated shower. Gusty winds and street flooding possible in the event of a heavy shower. Expected temperature high of 34 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 33 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it is 27 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 29 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, Tobago rocked by yet another murder in less than a week. A teenager and a 22-year-old man are shot dead in an alleged police-involved shooting. The finance minister says cabinet will not cancel or recall investigation led by David Harris and David Benjamin into the dispute between the finance ministry and the auditor general. And the Ministry of Health reminds the public very high temperatures can be dangerous and advises the population to take the necessary precautions. I'm Avril Sindhilbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Of course, your 7 o'clock major news was brought to you by Genesco Appliances and Experience Innovation and Inverted Technologies Refrigerators designed to slash your electricity bills at Genesco Appliances Limited. Discover the versatility of a dual-function chest freezer, switchable between refrigeration or freezer mode, available in 5 and 7 cubic feet. Don't miss their unbeatable offer on the 13 kg twin tub washers, and for the aspiring chef, a 30-inch 5-burner gas stove with a built-in rotisserie oven awaits. These specials won't last, so check out Genesco Appliances on Facebook and Instagram or call 351-7777. Genesco Appliances are available nationwide.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you, Avi, for our major news. Thank you so much. You can join her again come next hour, 8 o'clock exactly, for our news brief. Traffic-wise, yeah, where you think you're going to get it, you will get it. They go very heavy from Sugargonas, taking the southern main road to Ibis Gardens, an extension towards the interchange, to the highway. You've got some traffic. Not too bad going to Chase Village. And San Fernando, not too bad at all. Your heavy spot this morning is on Golaconda Connector Road. All right, guys, let's see if we have any more votes. Let me just check here.
Richard had to head up to an interview. He said he'd try to rejoin us at about 22.
Yeah, he had messaged me earlier.
So he gave me the.
Oh, he sent it to you as well?
Okay,
hang on. Let me just check here.
Yeah.
Nothing there. I'm checking WhatsApp. Nothing here. All right, that's it. Give the results.
Poll this morning was: do you agree with the decision by acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Colm Imber to continue the probe into TNT's public accounts 2023? We had 33 people weighing in on the poll on our various platforms. 32 of you said yes, the Minister of Finance should continue the probe, and one person said no. You can continue weighing in on the probe, and we'll give you the final results on tomorrow's show for Friday. Let me just make a statement on the chat. The chat is a very important part, we think, about of our show, where people can exchange ideas and thoughts and ideologies on various topics that we're discussing and other topics. But the chat has been, in some instances, getting people being disrespectful to each other. And while we encourage exchange of thoughts, disagreements, free speech, it has to be done in a respectful manner. And if it cannot be done in a respectful manner, we may have to take a decision to deactivate the chat, which we don't want to do.
No.
The chat is very important to us. It lets us know how you feel. Not everybody likes to call. You understand? And we appreciate the chat very much. But when people start disrespecting each other, it becomes our responsibility to manage it. So I'm begging you, you can disagree strongly, vociferously. You can have varying opinions, because that's what the democracy is about. But please do it in a respectful manner. Please. Thank you very much. While we are waiting
yes, Mr. Martin.
Yes, you can open the phone lines a bit, if you will, Steve.
Yep. Lines are open. Give us a call. We take a couple of minutes to discuss our morning poll. Yeah. All right. So 222-8255 toll free. North Americans 866-525-1099. That's our numbers directly into our studio. We will take some calls. So a few minutes. Our guest should join us shortly. All right. So let's do that. And of course, our poll will stay up on our mobile app and on our website at power12fm.com for you to vote, and I'll give you the final results come tomorrow morning.
We've only banned one person from the show, one person. Because this several months ago, that person was getting extremely disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it was the last resort to ban.
Yeah.
People should not be insulting and disrespecting each other on the chat.
Can't we all just get along? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Namos.
Good morning again. I will hope that they hear this, because if we don't really chat and we don't really get chance to talk many mornings, we wouldn't be able to. It's no point just listening to you all alone, just discuss your ideas and we can discuss ours. So if that's the case and it cut, your show cut, your show done. So that's what I have to say about that part. Anyhow, I would like to know what is, I can't understand what the big hullabaloo is about with this audit story. Why can't the finance minister have approved into? So how would we find out how things can be fixed? What went wrong and what's supposed to happen the next time? Well, what is all the secrecy? You can't do this because my office is so sacrosanct. This one can't do that because but look, I can't understand it. This is just a whole set of playing around the mulberry bush when people would like to hear that their accounts have been settled. Where's all this? Up to now, we ain't hear that this for lasting the papers or information that was sent to them, that it was to the Auditor General, that it was accepted, and that the books are now balanced. What we hearing only about thing for courthouse and all that. What it is about? I don't understand it. I don't think that all this is necessary. And you know what? I feel this 2x4 country here, it's too small for too many posts to be too. Nobody can't. They can't answer to nobody, and they like tin gods unto themselves. Too many boards, too many posts that they feel that they alone. This country too small. This is why sometimes your countries need a little dictatorship. Sometimes. Oh God, people playing the fool too much in this country here. A lot of them getting money and they ain't doing their work. Thank you.
Well, I cannot endorse a dictatorship, but thank you, Zena, for your perspective. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Martin George. How are you?
Yeah, hi, good morning, Steve.
Martin, raise the eyebrows. Yes, you see a dictatorship. How are you going, Martin? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. It's always a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, as you hear, because the question this morning is, do you agree with the acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Colm Imber's decision to continue the probe despite the request by the Auditor General through her Freedom Law Chambers to discontinue for several reasons outlined? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, the thing is, apart from being a highly politically charged issue, there is the basic issue of the governance structure and the accountability questions. And I think that really and truly we ought to have an independent body doing the investigation, as opposed to, those that have been chosen by the Minister of Finance. And the reality is that, I mean, even though you have, both sides, hard swearing on both sides, it is curious to see that, in a scenario such as this, where initially the Auditor General had made requests of the Attorney General for legal representation, it's almost as if the Attorney General said, well, I'm already representing the interests of the Minister of Finance, so you have to get your own private legal counsel, and we will talk about the expenses of that, and of course now you see that it said that, well, the Attorney General is saying he will pay for a legal opinion, but beyond that, he's not prepared to pay the costs. Now, the thing is, if the Auditor General, being a constitutionally appointed body, it is something that I think ought to have the protection of the state's resources if it is that you are being challenged in the performance of your duty. If it were just a purely private matter, then I could understand that as, being different. But in the performance of your duty, then, if you are convinced that you have done the right thing, then I think there ought to be some mechanism whereby you ought to be afforded that protection.
And so it goes. Your thoughts on the reappointment of Commissioner of Police earlier here with Christopher? I saw a newspaper article quoting you as saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, please correct me if I'm veering off course, that, well, it's basically saying we're happy with what has been happening and we continue. Is that an accurate paraphrase?
Well, no. The thing is, I questioned the basis upon which the cabinet would have made the decision to grant the extension. In fact, I made reference to, the appearance at the Joint Select Committee where I think you, probed with some questions, and the answers that were given fell far short of the mark. I also pointed out to the fact that she herself had set certain targets, publicly, brazenly, set certain targets for herself and said, well, yes, she will meet this target by this timeline. If you remember December 2022, she said she would make a 20% reduction in murders, and in fact, by May of 2023, she had to admit that there was actually a 10% increase. She also promised to reduce road fatalities, and that also did not come true. So, as I said, it's a situation where she has hoisted herself upon her own petard. So it's not necessary for anybody to criticize her. By her setting these standards so publicly and by falling short, I think she has basically fallen upon her own sword in that regard. So that's why I was curious to understand what was the reasoning or rationale from the government for the renewal. Now, I saw subsequently, I think because of the public reaction and the outcry that people gave in relation to it, I saw Mr. Hines now saying that there was a report he saw, or a response from the Public Service Commission which rated her as good. And I was quite surprised to hear that, because I have not seen anything, within the last week or so emanating officially from the Police Service Commission to say that they have done an assessment and an analysis, and they have this report and they have this rating for her. So I think the question remains, and now in fact it gets even more interesting. And I think Mr. Hines ought to disclose to the public this report or the results of this inquiry that he made to the Police Service Commission, where he said that she was rated as good. Because basically what he said is that this was part of the basis or rationale for the government to give the renewal. Where is that report? How come the public doesn't seem to know about it? Because, let me tell you, Paul and Steve, when we were the Police Service Commission, the assessment exercise is a very intensive, detailed process, running over months. We assess on several aspects of financial management, your expenditure, your human resource management, how you manage in terms of, your morale within the ranks, how you deal with issues of promotion, how you deal with issues of discipline. Listen, man, there was so many different criteria. So just to come and, give this simplistic response to say, well, you spoke to the Police Service Commission and they said it was good. I mean, what on earth does that mean? Where are the criteria? What were the parameters? What were the scores in each sector? What about public trust and confidence? In other words, the litmus test, I would always say, for the success of anyone in that office, does the ordinary person in the street feel safer as a result of you assuming office or not? And that's what it comes down to, Paul and Steve.
Well, you were a member of the Police Service Commission, past iteration, and you've identified some of the metrics that we've seen some in the past because they've come before Joint Select Committees, national security before, public trust and confidence, financial management, because the commissioner is the accounting officer, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. The issue of management of crime in various metrics, stuff like that. Had it been a normal practice when you were part of the commission to make public that sort of assessment? How often do those assessments of commissioners and deputy commissioners take place, so we get a sense of what had been the practice in the past? And is it normal for those metrics to change?
Right. So every year we would compile our report, we'd submit it to the president, and then we would have it made public. So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I find it curious that Mr. Hines speaks of this, rating or assessment from the Police Service Commission, and I have not yet seen. I mean, maybe I missed it, Paul. I'm always open to correction. So maybe I missed it. But the point is, within the last week or so, I have not seen or heard anything from the Police Service Commission saying, well, look, we have a report where we assessed the commissioner and the deputy commissioners, because it's all that you're supposed to assess. And, showing what the breakdown of the results of that assessment would be.
What would have been the protocol for
determination?
What would have been the protocol when you were part of the commission for making those assessments public? How did they go about doing that?
We would actually normally either call a press conference or issue a press release. Because the point is, the Police Service Commission is funded by taxpayers. Okay, so therefore you have a duty of accountability to the public. So therefore, it can't be that this is some private secret between yourself and the Ministry of National Security, or yourself and the Minister of National Security, that he whispers to you, hey, what do you think? How is she doing? And then you whisper back.
Yeah, I don't know that it happened that way.
No. And this is what I'm saying. It cannot be. So therefore, the question is, where is this report? And it ought to be made public, because Mr. Hines did say, I saw it on the record, he did say that, they communicated with the Police Service Commission, and the feedback was that, she was assessed as good.
Right,
so
but let me take it one step further. The Police Service Commission put out an ad, I think on April 12th, is what I read in the papers. I remember the ad going public that called for interested persons to submit applications, their applications to be the Commissioner of Police, and they went through the ad included what your responsibilities would be. But that happened like a month before this. So I don't know if that ad was intended to be part of a comparative to the incumbent, or maybe that ad would, because the Minister of National Security is also on record as saying, it is reported in the papers, that process could take as much as 6 months. So what are your thoughts on the juxtaposition of that newspaper ad calling for a commissioner, persons who are interested, with this reappointment now? Is there any, do you find it productive?
Well, the thing is, okay, Paul, let me say this for the record, and in fairness to the Police Service Commission, the current members, and the way it's structured. We did an analysis, an extensive review and analysis of the PSC and its functions, right? We submitted a thick document, a very comprehensive report. One of the recommendations in that report was that, look, we need a full-time police service commission. The reason being, Paul, let me tell you, because of the intensity of the analysis you need to go through, because of the challenges sometimes with police officers getting information from them, because our field officers would complain routinely at the Police Service Commission to say, well, look, they are getting difficulties or challenges to get information from the police service. You know, they send letters making requests, you know, they're not getting the information. Then they send back, they call, then they tell them, okay, look, you could come down. When they reach down, the officer to give you the information is not there. He on sick leave. Listen, man, it's a nightmare getting that information. So therefore, you need full-time members. But the reality is that you are supposed to do this assessment and analysis. You are supposed to plan in advance. You know that you have to do the exercise to do this selection process. And you know it's a lengthy, involved process, because if you are going international, all right, and you are looking for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, because remember, we are now limited to nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. Previously, it was wide open. That's how you had Iwatsky and Gibbs coming in. But now we are saying nationals of Trinidad and Tobago who could be living abroad. So in other words, they could be living anywhere, working anywhere, right? So that's why Wayne Hayde was able to come back from, Africa and, interview for it. So the point is, you need to make arrangements for those persons to come in to be interviewed. You need to do security vetting. You need to do medical health checks. So it's a lot you have to do.
Well, I asked the question in the context that, and the incumbent would, I presume, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, the person who would be on the job and be assessed comprehensively by the commission while on the job at several stages during her year-long tenure, because it's a year-long tenure, a year and some months, because she turned 60, I think, shortly after being appointed, right? Yes. And so it's either you assess the incumbent and make a determination on her suitability to continue. And if that is the case, you may not have to consider other applicants. But what if, for example, it didn't meet muster? What would be your options in those cases to appoint a deputy? And that's why I'm trying to get to the understanding.
Right. Yeah. So I followed the question. I was just laying the groundwork. The reality, Paul, is that regardless of whether they felt that she had done a good job or not, they still have to engage in this exercise, because remember, this is someone who is just on this 1 year extension. You need to appoint a permanent commissioner anyhow. So you still need to go through this exercise. So the fact that the ad came out, it's not a signal to say that they didn't have confidence in her and they were looking for somebody else. It's something you have to do anyhow.
It's part of the process.
Yeah, but separate and apart from that, what I'm saying is that they ought to have engaged in that exercise much earlier. But remember, the way the legislation has changed now, it basically has to be triggered by the ministry from the minister, if you understand me. So it is now, I don't know why we don't just revamp this whole thing. Paul, as I have said repeatedly, the hardest position in Trinidad and Tobago to make an appointment is Commissioner of Police. It is the most convoluted, cumbersome process. It's easier to appoint a president. It's easier to appoint a prime minister.
And it's changed so many times in iterations in the last couple of years.
This is the thing. So we need to change this process, because it really does not augur well for, continuity or stability, or even a proper assessment being done in a timely manner. Because when you have it so cumbersome and you don't have full-time commissioners, so therefore this is people volunteering of their time, of course, yes, they get a stipend, but the thing is, for the caliber of people you want, the stipend, is really de minimis, in the grand scheme of things.
Let me ask an objective question. Is it fair, because I'm trying to look at it from all angles, to expect any person to be able to deal with them because the performance of the service and the main barometer is murders and assaults and robberies, etc. To turn around a service that has been for so many decades mired with HR, personnel, other issues, allegations of corruption, actually some level of corruption that we can't identify the quantum, in a year.
No, it's not. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic bullet that you have that you could say, well, okay, look, you ride in like a superhero and you're going to clean up the service in a year. But Paul, what you can do is if you set your metrics, you set your parameters, you set your milestones, you set your markers, and you say, well, okay, look, I'm going to start gradually making improvements here. And you measure each one of these to see, well, okay, how have I done? So if you have, say, for instance, 20 basic criteria, and you are gradually making improvement on, say, if you make improvement in 15 out of the 20, then
but
at least
that performance is based on the human resources available, the tools available to you, primarily the human resources. If there had been issues with that training, discipline, corruption, etc., do we have unrealistic expectations within a year? That's what I'm asking.
I wouldn't use the human resource as an excuse. Realistically, first of all, you look at our police population, the size of the police force compared to the population. We are actually at one of the higher end of ratios in the world in terms of number of police to the population size. So in terms of numbers, you have it. In terms of training, we have a police academy, right? We have, someone in charge of the...
But does that guarantee the quality of officer you want?
Sorry?
Does that guarantee the quality of officer you want?
No, but the point is the fundamentals are there to try to generate that. So if it is that it's not working, then you need to go into the academy and make the necessary changes. And remember, the commissioner has full power. I don't think the public understands. The commissioner of police has the power to discipline officers, even to the point of basically terminating an officer. So you have extensive powers of control in terms of how you manage. And that's why I'm saying it's so important for us to get to see whatever Mr. Hines would have been privy to, or the government would have been privy to, in terms of those details to see, well, okay, how are you progressing in these small steps? I'm not just taking the simplistic view to say, well, okay, the murder rate. Because that's, I think, too banal, and coarse an analysis to say, well, you're assessing somebody's performance and that alone. But the point is, all these other little things, if you're not making progress in any of the minute details, then I will say you are definitely not a success at the job.
Relatedly, another murder in Tobago yesterday.
Last night, yes, I saw that. And,
from what people are saying on the ground, what do you think is causing it? I heard a report saying, well, the gangs from Trinidad have now gone to Tobago and they're ramping up.
Well, Paul, the point is that to me seems to be an oversimplification and an excuse that is being given for the failure to meet and treat with the reality of what is happening in Tobago. In Tobago, what we are witnessing is the blossoming and the coming into fullness of Tobago's own homegrown banditry. And I make no apologies for saying so, Paul. A lot of it is Tobagonians. So this blanket excuse that we like to fool ourselves with and, cloak ourselves with and say, oh, well, no, it's not Tobagonians. It's people coming up from Trinidad and committing these murders. Give me a break. A lot of it is young Tobago persons whom we know, who are in our communities, who are in our families, who are in our homes. Let's be real, So it's time that Tobago starts facing that reality and starts dealing with it and meeting and treating with it. I'm not saying that they may not be influenced or assisted by persons from Trinidad or persons, who are members of gangs in Trinidad. I'm not saying that they wouldn't get that help, but don't try to paint this picture that, Tobago is this haven of, saints and, people who are filled with such sanctity that they could never be involved in this. No, that's not the reality.
Another
the reality
disturbing
is that a
component
lot
to
of
this
them
is-
are Tobagonians.
Another disturbing, is it 2 or 3 women killed in the 9?
I think 3, out of the 9.
Isn't that another disturbing phenomenon? Not that the killing of men is any better, but I mean, it speaks to a different kind of sensitivity.
It gives one cause to pause.
Mhm.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Yes. And you see, the thing is, when you just sweep it under the rug and say, well, it's gangs from Trinidad, you make it appear as if, well, it's nothing to do with Tobago. And that means that they are not facing the reality or confronting the issues. You have so many young men in Tobago, Paul, who are jobless, who are idle, who are, they feel a sense of hopelessness, no sense of future. They have not been able to fit in to what is the societal norm of being able to access the opportunities, either job-wise or career-wise. So therefore, their choices, they feel, are limited to maybe joining up with what's going on the block and that kind of thing. So the point is, you have a whole cadre of young men. I mean, I have spoken to teachers, I've spoken to educators, I've spoken to persons in the education system in Tobago. Paul, there are students in some of the schools in Tobago who are preparing for O-levels or CXC Cape, who cannot even, spell their names. So what is the point of you? You're in Form 4, Form 5, and you can't even spell your own name.
That's not limited to Tobago, right? It happens right here.
Right, yes, it's not limited to Tobago. You're correct. It's not limited to Tobago.
It's a general failure of the education system at some level. I'm going to say big reshuffle. Reshuffle of the assembly. I take back the big. I retract the big. Some changes in the assembly construct. And Mr. Chief Secretary, Augustine, I would have seen a picture with him swearing in a new executive member with Her Excellency the President. Your thoughts on this? Well, it was announced, it was leaked last week it would come. It came. And then,
yeah, well, I mean, Paul, my initial reaction remains the same. I said it's much ado about nothing, because for almost 2 years, there's been the idea floated of, this proposed reshuffle and this changing of, the guard, etc., etc. And really and truly, it turned out, instead of a big bang, it's turned out to be a damp scribble. Because you are basically, you have a deck of cards, you do nothing with the face cards, you make no changes there, and you basically, you're shuffling around the 2s, the 3, the 4, and I mean, really, it's just cosmetic, and it really achieves nothing in terms of national confidence or even confidence on the island of Tobago to say, well, look, you are making serious human resource changes, because this type of exercise is supposed to be a human resource management exercise. You're supposed to basically be saying, well, listen, I'm changing this person from this position because I don't think his skill set is fully suited to it. He could be better utilized in this area. So for instance, if you put in someone in the division of agriculture and they have a degree in agriculture science and they have a proven track record in the area, you could justify it and you give that type of explanation. But Paul, our politicians have reached the level. I think we are, almost like, medieval France, before the revolution, where they have such contempt for the people. Remember Marie Antoinette? They went to her, they said, listen, the peasants are rioting, they have no bread. And she said, let them eat cake. I think that's almost where we are with the level of contempt our politicians show for us as ordinary thinking citizens, because they don't even condescend to details or particulars. They just basically give edicts from on high. And, take it or leave it, because I'm in charge.
Mr. Augustine, from what, I don't know which pronunciation is right, so excuse me for mispronouncing, has relinquished the position of Secretary of Finance. Isn't that significant?
Well, he said he is going to relinquish it. He hasn't yet relinquished it. I think he says he's going to deliver his last budget in June, and then he said he's going to step down from that. But the point is, one doesn't know where he's planning to go otherwise, if you understand me. So I'm not sure that that necessarily is of any great moment one way or the other.
What do you think of the politics in Tobago now? We're heading to a general election next year, by all accounts. It could come anytime between now and then. It's unlikely to come before next year, based on Dr. Roddy's track record of when he calls elections. How are people in Tobago feeling about, well, there's several entities, of course, the Tobago People's Party, which is Mr. Augustine and his colleagues in the assembly. We have the PNM, and we have Dr. Soyafat Angus and others in the fray. What do you think? How do you think it may play out? Because those two Tobago seats are going to be critical, king or queen maker.
Yes, that's right. I think so.
It doesn't seem, and I could stand corrected, to be fielding candidates in Tobago, right? Which means that the PNM will be going up against the Tobago People's Party or some other entity vying for one of the two seats. The two seats are currently held by the PNM with Ministers Kojo and Webster Roy. And if the TPP is able to hoist even one of those seats, it may become a deciding factor.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And the thing is, I mean, I think this supposed reshuffle or whatever you call it, right? Maybe he's doing the shuffle, he's doing the dance, the shuffle, right? I think maybe that was an attempt to shore up his position internally within his party, if you understand me, you know, because the politicians, they love to surround themselves with loyalists. So it may have been more that than really, an overall Tobago.
Well, we've seen more of our share of palace schools in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
Do you think Watson Duke is still a factor in Tobago?
The thing is, I mean, Mr. Duke is a factor insofar as his area of Roxborough. But in terms of overall for Tobago, I think he has lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately. He's lost a lot of credibility.
How so and why so?
Well, it's been largely self-inflicted. It's been largely self-inflicted, you know. I mean, he has been the author of his own demise, and he's been outmaneuvered by, the chief secretary. You know, he's been ousted. You know, so it ended up in a scenario where, Watson Duke had a party and no followers, and Farley had followers and no party, So Farley has now formed a party, and Watson is still there out in the wilderness, crying in the wilderness. And you see, even from his entreaties, where he keeps, trying to make the rapprochement back to Mr. Augustine for, peace and holding out an olive branch and let us talk, clearly that's a sign of desperation. And I think Farley is smart enough to recognize that, the fact that Watson keeps coming back, after all the things he said and done, and keeps coming back and saying, well, let us work together for the good of Tobago. No, Watson is recognizing his failing and fallen political stocks. So therefore he's eager to try to get back on board on the bus. But I think that that ship has sailed really and truly. So I don't see him getting back that level of credibility with the Tobago public. People, of course, still recognize and thank him for, I guess, maybe what he did in the early days of the PDP. But the way it has, evolved, it has basically evolved past Mr. Watson Duke. And I think that's the scenario. He's been relegated to obsolescence in the Tobago political scene.
So then, so you're saying that Mr. Augustine has been able to establish himself as a political leader of a party and subsuming whatever support the PDP may have had into his own party now?
By and large, he has.
Yes. Does that have implications nationally, or is it reposed in Tobago politics alone?
Well, the thing is, so while he may have been able to do so, The question is, has it resonated with the wider Tobago public in the sense of now being able to attract the hardcore PNM supporters, those who are sitting on the fence, the middle of the road persons, to be able to win one or two of those Tobago seats in the general elections? And that is where the question is, because the thing is, while he may have outmaneuvered Mr. Duke and outwitted Mr. Duke, has he outmaneuvered and outwitted the average Tobago citizen? That I'm not sure he has yet.
But the average Tobago citizen, although it's on a much smaller scale than a national election, decided upon how many? Is it 15 seats or 14 now?
Yeah, it's 14-1. It was 14-1 in favor
basically made a decision with a party that has been dominant in Tobago politics for decades to remove you from all but one assembly seat.
Right. That was definitely a signal that was being sent to the PNM. But Paul, let me tell you, the thing which, if you observe Tobago politics, Tobagonians are more open to changing their leaders than Trinidadians.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. So in other words, even though PNM suffered that massive loss, it's not impossible for them to make a rebound and a comeback.
I may paraphrase by saying, even if it's to make a point.
Yes.
Even if it's to make a point. We told you what we want and we told you what we don't want, and we will show you what we want and what we don't want.
Yes.
So it's much easier to do that.
Yes. Because if you remember, for instance, with Mr. Ashwood Jack, remember he was riding high, when the UNC was in power, and he was the golden boy of then Prime Minister Ms. Kamala Persad Bissessa. But Tobagonians put a resounding licking on Mr. Jack, because they utterly rejected him. So it can happen. So the thing is, that's what I'm saying, that even though Farley may have won the battle, he could still lose the war in terms of the general elections fight for those two seats if he doesn't strengthen his resources and ensure that he puts two very strong, very credible candidates for those two seats. And you need to, tighten up and improve in terms of your public service delivery to be able to convince persons that, look, hey, I'm ready for the big times, the big leagues.
Final question. Your statements quoted in the newspaper indicate that all this shifting around in the assembly is nothing if Tobago businesses don't benefit. What's the business climate like in Tobago now?
Well, the thing is, Paul, it continues to be challenging. I could tell you that for a fact. And we have unfortunately seen no clear sense of direction from this assembly as to what is the economic plan. But then again, maybe they are taking their lead from the central government, because nationally in Trinidad and Tobago, we really seem to have absolutely no clear economic plan for our future. We mouth the catchphrases about economic diversification, and we trying to move away from dependence on oil and gas, and every year in the budget that is.
But is that an accurate statement? My recollection of the statements is that the energy sector remains our mainstay. There has been diversification within the energy sector, and the manufacturing sector is growing. So I don't really hear what you're hearing.
Right. No, Paul, listen, what I'm saying is that we speak of it on a national level, right? The growth in the manufacturing sector is not government driven. That is private sector driven. So that has nothing to do with government policies. That's what I'm talking about.
But is that also fair? Because the growth in the private sector, the government will say, is because of their facilitation, also because they've included energy products in the manufacturing sector.
Paul, trust me, I'm a member of 2 major business chambers, and the ease of doing business is not there. In fact, business persons complain all the time about being hamstrung by customs, by the port, by the delays, right?
Same old.
The red tape. That's my point. So look at the shortage of foreign exchange. So in other words, your manufacturing sector is actually surviving despite the challenges, whereas you have
the shortage of forex for some people.
Sorry?
The shortage of forex for some people.
Of course. That's a whole next issue, but you are quite
But am I inaccurate?
No, you're correct. You're quite correct. You're quite correct. Yes.
Martin, just thank you for talking with us this morning. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thank you. Have a great
You know, everybody ain't getting as much pressure to get forex. You know that.
Yeah. That's
some people get not all they want, but a lot of what they want.
And with ease.
Yeah. So much so that they could have say on something. Have a good day.
Yeah. Take care. All right.
All right, Martin. Thank you. All the best to you.
Zena, the phone line is yours now.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes. We can take a call or two. 222-8255, toll free. North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right, some numbers directly into our studio. We'll take some of their calls. I see the
a bit hot again. I'll leave back some time for you. Don't waste it, you know. You are not one to waste extra time. I'll leave our last rounds here for you.
Yeah.
Taking long to dial. You have us know how to dial. Just press the auto dial.
It's surprising to hear. Well, not surprising that Mr. George is saying that the crime in Tobago is within Tobago and not people from Trinidad coming across, even though there's some entities, I'm sure.
If you have socialization issues in Trinidad, you have socialization issues in Tobago also.
Yeah.
Right? If you have family breakdown issues on one island, you have family breakdown issues in the island. So a lot of what is being driven as crime is breakdown in some socialization issues.
Yeah. Morning, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I want to echo Zena's statement. The first hour, which is very informative, you all leave out listeners' participation because of the limited time, I guess. But I feel that either only put back the program to 9 till 9 o'clock, or do something to include the listeners, because eventually you will start to lose listeners.
And you know, when we open the phone line before 7, we hardly get calls.
No, I don't think so.
Am I wrong, Steve?
No, you're not wrong, Paul.
Let's do it from now. We'll open the phone line before 7 and see how it goes. I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
Then. Have a good one.
All right. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
A while ago, I was hoping that Dr. Paul would have asked him about the Marriott Hotel that is supposed to come to Tobago. What are his views?
No, we can't answer that. Right? It's proposed.
I'll send him a message.
Tobago.
I see if you can send a voice note on it. So
Yeah.
we can play it back.
Thank you. All right. I could probably squeeze in one more call before we...
tomorrow after 6:15, Steve, please, because I know we've done it in the past and we're scraping for calls.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem including calls before.
I have no problem. I love to hear from our callers. All right. See, lines open.
Well, they're vexed now.
Mm-hmm.
They only leave 3 minutes for calls, so.
Mm-hmm.
So you know,
better than not that 2 at 1.
Zena's tote.
You would know.
Yeah, she's tote. I'm trying to get Keisha Jackson on the show next week.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She has a political party.
Yeah. Ron Paul, this call is for you. We do have Professor Aura coming in on Monday. We're going to talk about a few things, including the AstraZeneca vaccine. Good morning, caller.
My dear.
Yes.
Good morning.
I'm listening.
I'm talking to Paul.
Oh,
well,
sorry.
My call is he call me.
Yes.
So, Glorious Ram, you call me. I'm bound to come. Listen to me. I don't know. 1 minute ain't good enough for me. I like long. I like it nice and slow. And so this hurry thing where you're calling here, you open the lines and it ain't time. I don't hurry anything. You understand? But let me tell you, Martin George, he was here, he don't know the voice on the radio, but that's my his mother was my first cousin. Yeah. But yes, many of these statements sometimes with hearsay I don't agree with. But like the one he just said with, and I'm happy that you came up with what you said. You know, but I don't think that we have a country with so many manufacturers and different things that the government always have to do everything. But I could find kind of understand his point that we have a lot of red tape still in the country that string things in this country. Anyhow, somebody else may want to make a call. So me and
have a great day, darling.
Till tomorrow.
All right.
Ciao.
Ciao. All right, folks, this is where we're going to wrap it up for today, Thursday, the 16th day of May.
You have a great day, everyone. Be safe and drink a lot of water and eat fruits and vegetables.
And make sure you leave enough water for your pets as well. Please don't forget about them. All right, let's go.